Hello, learners. Today we're actually going to look at economic geography, and our focus is going to be on the West Coast SDI, this region down here. Okay, that's what we're going to be focusing, and it's stipulated in the 2021 examination guidelines. Okay, you can see it clearly here. Saldanha Bay is the IDZ, and I have discussed it in one of my past presentations found on YouTube also. So you will notice that it's just the Saldanha Bay IDZ that you have to focus on, and the SDI is the West Coast according to the examination guideline. Once again, as I always say, in some of these aspects, this one will apply for the 2020 prelim, final, and 2022 May-June exams. Okay, and also I always say, I don't expect you to look at the 2022 November to rewrite, because you are brilliant again, and I know you will get through writing the prelim and the final with a distinction, all right, or the best you can do. Okay, and again here we'll be looking at in this it says differences between IDZs and SDIs, and I've done that in my presentation on YouTube in the lessons before. So all these ones I have covered in there. So let's look at now the prescribed IDZ, which has been covered in my previous lesson. The SDI we're focusing is on the Western Cape, the location factors of the SDI, which is again on the West Coast, and the main industrial activities of the West Coast, factors favoring and hindering development along on the West Coast, SDI, economic and social impacts, and a case study to illustrate the above. Okay, so we're all going to focus, all we're going to focus on this is now the West Coast as an addition to the 2021 examination guideline. Okay, let's get going. Okay, let's look at the location. Okay, it's in the Western Cape. It's along the west coast of South Africa and covers approximately 350 kilometers of Atlantic coastline. Beautiful area here. It's lovely investment. Okay, you can see the N7 also passes through this area as a spatial corridor. Okay, so it covers this whole area in the Western Cape. Okay, the municipalities that it covers, it's 5 major municipalities. Saldanha Bay, which from my lesson on the Saldanha Bay IDZ, you notice the potential on that. It covers Swartland, Berg River, Cederberg, and Matsikama. Those are your major local municipalities that it actually covers. Okay. You can see it again, sometimes known as the Investment Initiative. It's on the West Coast. Okay, another diagram showing you how it connects the places in terms of connecting all those different towns as a spatial development initiative and where it's found. What was the general aims of the West Coast SDI? I know it's not stipulated in your guideline, but it does give you some direction when we look at favoring economic benefits and social benefits. Okay, it was there to show good governance and financial viability. Governance in terms of proper administration, managing of it. So if you manage it proper, you will get better financial gains. To create employment growth, resulting in more job opportunities for the local community, okay? To improve social well-being of the community. Obviously, if you're getting them jobs, etc., you're building more facilities, the well-being of the people will be better off. They can afford the basic needs, they can have health care, whatever that comes through, okay, in terms of the social well-being. Creating a balance between economic development and maintaining environmental integrity of the West Coast. All right, economic development, developing the area wealth-wise, but maintaining that environment also, having a balance between the two, not totally destroying the environment, because the environment also plays an important part on that West Coast. It attracts people also. All right, besides attracting of people, we do need to conserve the natural environment. All right, and then of course the development of bulk infrastructure and development services. Bulk infrastructure in terms of transport, communications, etc. Okay, and developing services that can cater for the industries and for getting more investment, etc. Okay, you can see here the wind energy has been one thing that has been used in this area. The infrastructure of windmills, etc., have been put into the place. Okay. Some factors influencing the location. Now, learners, what I have done here is I have included factors favoring. I'm trying to make it easier because there's overlaps between factors influencing the location and also factors favoring. It works hand in hand. So I've included them together in many cases, and then I've added an additional factors favoring. So let's look at the ones influencing and favoring. A deep water port at Saldanha Bay. And as I mentioned in my presentations on Saldanha Bay, this has huge advantages, this deep water port that's found here. All right, because ships can go in, we can have bigger ships coming in, all right, they can come nearer to the surface or to the land, all right, so there's huge advantages, and it helps with exports and imports. We have cargo facilities for storage, etc., containers, all right, and we have nearby, the facility also allows for offshore extraction of oil and gas. You know the value of oil. Okay, you know already the potential of this area, and this deep water port actually allows for all this. The mini mill in Saldanha Steel was identified as the anchor project for the West Coast investment. All right, the mini mill, all right, of Saldanha Steel. All right, huge for processing, etc., and development of other things like machine parts, etc. Okay, was the Saldanha Bay plant offers possibility of linked industries and related. If you got the steel there, you can make so many things from it. You understand? So it brings in linked industries. The spatial area possesses significant resource base. You understand? Satisfactory infrastructure and broader and social natural environment, which presents attractive opportunity for investors. So resources in the area bring in people. Satisfactory to good infrastructure, whether it's transport, whether it's communications, power lines, etc. All this will attract people. The social aspects, when it's recreation, whatever, will bring in people. The natural environment, the beauty of this area, you understand, also brings in people. So it attracted investment in this area. So it's a factor influencing the location and favoring the development. All right, example, the natural and cultural opportunities, okay, attract tourists. And again, I'm mentioning, in many of my lessons I mentioned, people see tourism, it's more tertiary, but you must remember the amount of secondary activities it influences. You understand, the production of food, processing of food. You understand, other facilities that are needed will involve manufacturing. all right, whether it's clothing, whether it's other items, tourists want them. They come to buy them, all right? So it attracts them. Natural sites like the Langaban Lagoon, the West Coast National Park brings in a lot of tourists who buy a lot, all right? The other parts of the infrastructure is the N7 corridor, accessibility, all right? It leads and links important towns, okay? It's the main freight route through the area. So it links up other towns and it allows you to distribute goods over a longer area. Also, the Northern Rural Development Corridor, all right, it consists of the fertile Olifants River agricultural production, which is also accessible to the area. So agriculture also plays its part, food production, etc., that's found in those areas, right? Also, resources for the fishing industry. It's a good fishing area. So remember, processing of fish, canning, packaging, etc. So all this brings in. So these factors affected the location and they favored the development of the Saldanha Bay area. Okay, other factors favoring, of course, it's labor supply, skilled, semi-skilled, all right, unskilled rather, semi-skilled and skilled. Sufficient land for development, which is important also. You want to develop, you need the land to expand. Investment potential, all right? As the harbor is there, the resources are there, the natural environment, people want to invest, the infrastructure is there, so people can transport goods. The harbor is there to send out to other countries. Okay, so all these things grow in. You can see the agriculture that's taking place in the Olifants River Valley, the beautiful tourism, all right, the oil and gas that's found along the West Coast, all right, brings in investors. Okay, so it's investment potential, government support for the SDI, right, which is important. If government supports it, there's funding, etc., and it comes in. You understand, government initiatives put in, which boost the area. Electricity supply, okay, supplemented by renewable energy, wind energy, etc. So we've got electricity supply, and that is needed, okay, for production in the area. Factors that hinder. Now, it must be noted, you know, when we've discussed it in my previous lessons on YouTube about SDIs, its underdeveloped areas, etc. This area, the West Coast, was not a totally neglected or poor region. So it already possessed good infrastructure, especially roads, before the launch of the West Coast SDI. So it had availability of infrastructure, etc. So because it had availability, it had less challenges compared to many other SDIs. You understand? So it was less compared to others because things were already in place in this area. Some possible factors hindering, okay, could be lack of entrepreneurial skills amongst the local community, and that was a problem because you want to promote employment, etc., in the area, and therefore what happened is you may have to bring in people from other areas to come and do the entrepreneurial skills, etc., and that lacked development in the area. Lack of effective growth coalition among local institutions to facilitate development. So the local institutions lack that management skills, all right, to create development. And that's what we want. We want the locals to do it. You understand, to run the organization. Sometimes it's run maybe not as effectively at first. Okay, at no one's fault, obviously. So it did not facilitate development that well. Okay, and generally old habits are hard to break. So the main focus before the SDIs was on fish, flowers, farms, and people sometimes don't want to change. So because of this, it limited new opportunities such as cultural tourism. It takes time. People are used to doing certain things. So it takes time to look at new opportunities and accept it, all right, and get involved in these things. So these were some of the possible hindering factors of the area. Okay. Then the main industrial activities in this area. Manufacturing is steel processing and manufacturing, fish processing industries, gas power plant, all right, ship repair facility are main manufacturing industries in this area. Okay, because of the facilities, the harbor, you understand, the raw materials such as the fish, okay, that can come in. Okay, so the fishing industry, your favorite, the sea harvest, the West Point fish. Okay, I know sea harvest and the fish fingers are quite nice. Okay, so all these things come from there. And of course, things like tourism, like the Langaban Lagoon, the West Coast National Park, also bring in the tourism industry, right, which may be considered tertiary, but it also involves a lot of processing to supply the tourists. Other activities, we can talk about primary activities that are found there, like agriculture, practiced around major transport towns like rooibos tea, fruit, grains, livestock, potatoes, wine. I know the Cape potatoes they spoke about, all right, beautiful, well cooking, etc. Okay, aquaculture, where you got your mussels, your oysters, your salmon farming. I'm getting quite hungry with all these things being mentioned. Okay, these are other activities beside your industrial. And of course, your tertiary again would be your freight transport, imports, exports through the port of Saldanha Bay, transport of freight through the district between Cape Town and Windhoek. So you can freight transport, tertiary, okay, services available for transportation, etc. So I've added these two to show you that there's so much value in this area, although the guideline focused on main industrial activities. Okay, you can see, I just put in this map, learners, you can see so many things here. Ecotourism, all right. There's tourism again, center here, and grain and ecotourism, all right, dam resort, bird island, small craft harbor, okay, fish, all right, mariculture, can you see it, agricultural, okay, many things here, learners, that you could look at, regional craft, okay, all coming through as various other things, okay, that's found in here. And you can look at no fixed location, grain, vegetable, wine, dairy products, West Coast fossil sites, West Coast tourism sites, all right, fossil fuels, etc. There's no fix because they're found in the area. So it's loaded with resources, and initiatives and investments are possible. You understand, there's a lot of value, economic value in this area. The social impacts, right, availability of employment opportunities in industries for farming, infrastructure development, tourism. Tourism promotes the local arts and crafts that can have, you know, South Africans across South Africa are very skilled people, especially in the arts and crafts. They're brilliant. You understand? So it promotes them, and therefore more employment, more money made, earning potential increases. You'll find this is similar, as I discuss all sections, you find there's a similarity in terms of social impacts and economic impacts, because they're working and they're getting better salaries. Poverty is reduced through employment, accessibility to services and facilities like health, education, all right, recreation, basic needs, all these things. And of course, it improves the standard of living. Saldanha Bay and the West Coast SDI, all along the way. Okay, economic impacts. You'll notice there's a similarity between many of them in the Western Cape. All right, again, it creates employment. More people earning results in larger markets for goods, because more people earning, more people buy. SDI links with other areas, example, Northern Cape, Windhoek. So what happens if it links up with them? There's a bigger market. Okay, more money made. If they need resources from there, it's accessible. Provides access to different markets. Okay, this roads and infrastructure and harbors through good port facilities with international links. Okay, so you can get to different markets, not only local markets, but markets overseas. Provides access to resources. Okay, you can get it through this infrastructure, etc. You can get it, and there's resources in the area. SDI promotes the development of new and improvement of existing infrastructure. Okay, new infrastructure is developing, which is more employment, more attractiveness to the area for investments because of all the infrastructure. You understand? Improving the existing infrastructure, the harbor facilities, the storage facilities. Okay, investors want to come in, industries benefit from it. Okay, so because of all these improvements, efficient transport networks move raw materials and finished goods, because you do need that. You need them to be moving quick and efficiently, and transport allows it. Okay, so it gets to the buyer quickly, you understand, and more effectively without damages, etc., and money is made. Okay, and again, it promotes domestic and international trade. More people working, more people buying in the area. Overseas, the countries are buying from this area because of this large production and quality stuff, etc., and the rates of the stuff. Okay, attracts international trade also. Okay, well, learners, I want to look at a little case study. And I'm not putting questions on it. I want to see how many things we can identify, okay, from this little case study. So let's start. The mini mill at Saldanha Steel was identified as a project was identified as the anchor project for the West Coast SDI. Okay, so one thing we know already, that steel production from iron ore, etc., is made here. All right, so it's actually a good investment in the area. We also pick up from that little point that it's one of the big things that started this. We also pick up that it will have link industries, all right, as indicated here. All right, where it will bring in more industries, the multiplier effect. One industry, you'll get the steel, you may get people making cars or machine parts, fixing of the ships. You understand? Maybe I'm talking about other things like fridges, whatever that may need steel, all of them come in. So it's like a multiplier effect that happens in this area. Already you can see how employment will increase, more infrastructure to cater for the new related industries. Can you see all these points we have covered during our discussion of the West Coast SDI? All right. In addition, the underexploited scope for development in agriculture, tourism, fishing in the region makes the siting of an SDI attractive. So factors favoring, learners, can you see it? Right, we brought it in here. Wouldn't it make it attractive to put an SDI here? Because it's underexploited, yet there's potential, there's good agricultural land, you understand, that's found in the area, as we discussed earlier on the Olifants, River Valley, etc., which can attract people, tourism, all right, also bringing in the attractiveness of the area, bringing in more industries, because tourists buy, they live in areas, more infrastructure, the fishing in the area, all right, brings in fishing, processing, canning, etc., makes it more desirable. So can you see the information we are using? The spatial area possesses a significant resource base with infrastructure, broader social and natural environment. Okay, we're talking about the spatial area. The whole area itself, all right, has a significant resource, good infrastructure that had been laid out already, that is developing further, the natural environment, all right, which brings in investors. Special investor-friendly packages have been introduced, all right, focusing on non-fiscal investment incentives, all right, where it's not money-based. You can get benefits. These are incentives that you don't have to pay so much for, maybe storage facilities, etc. And that's attractive to investors. I'm not paying a lot for those things. You understand? Maybe getting exposure to land, all right? Easier processes to get your industry started. You don't have to pay so much, all right? So that attracts people. I'm paying less, and the place is full of value. You understand? There's a lot of prospects in the area, and I'm not paying much. Non-fiscal incentives. So I'm going to benefit. Institutional support to improve space and pulling power of new investments. The institutions there, you understand, tourism board, the agricultural board, you understand, the industrial people in charge there, create major support, because it's difficult sometimes to go through the red tape to get things done. And if you've got support, investors help you. Investments come in, people want to invest. And if you look at this, in February 1998, Investors Conference tabled 120 potential projects within the boundaries of the West Coast region. As of June 2000, the SDI indicated 20 of these projects could be considered operational. All right. So generally ask you, how many projects are operational? 20. Sometimes questions like come out with a further 9 either approved or under construction. So it's doing well, leaving 77 either at scoping or pre-feasibility. They're still investigating it. All right. So approximately 17 of the projects are therefore operational, a figure which compares well with other SDIs. And these projects represent approximately $2 billion. Can you see the success rate? Okay. And already $2 billion, what can it do? Number one, better infrastructure, better well-being of the people, creating employment between 1,944 to 4,845.5. All right, that's average. It's not half a person, 0.5. Okay, can you see? We can ask you about the success of these projects with employment. Quote evidence. And you can say between 1,944 jobs to 4,845.5 direct jobs. You understand? Beside other related jobs. There's direct jobs, but other people come in selling the products that have been produced. You understand, in their shops, etc. So just going through a case study also does things. You applying your information that you learned. Also, you seeing the coverage of information. Also, you seeing how to read a case study, because you can get questions on that. Also, you can ask yourself different questions like employment. How does this area contribute to employment? What does initiatives can be put in place to attract investors? What are the factors favoring the area, like the natural environment, tourism, fishing, agriculture? All right, what is big in industry? Steel, you understand. Sometimes you can get things like the gas and oil that comes out in this, and you have to take it and relate it to your information. Okay, that then from my side covers the West Coast SDI. All the best. Goodbye.